Chapter 11 of the British Barbarians. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Recording by Ruth Golding. The British Barbarians by Grant Allen. Chapter 11. Never in her life had Frida enjoyed anything so much as those first 4 happy days at Haymoor. She had come away with Bertram exactly as Bertram himself desired her to do, without one thought of anything on earth except to fulfil the higher law of her own nature. And she was happy in her intercourse with the one man who could understand it, the one man who had waked it to its fullest pitch, and could make it resound sympathetically to his touch in every chord and every fibre. They had chosen a lovely spot on a heather-clad moorland, where she could stroll alone with Bertram among the gorse and ling, utterly oblivious of Robert Monteith and the unnatural world she had left for ever behind her. Her soul drank in deep draughts of the knowledge of good and evil from Bertram's lips. She felt it was indeed a privilege to be with him and listen to him. She wondered how she could ever have endured that old, bad life with the lower man who was never her equal, now she had once tasted and known what life can be when two well-matched souls walk it together abreast in holy fellowship. The children, too, were as happy as the day was long. The heath was heaven to them. They loved Bertram well, and were too young to be aware of anything unusual in the fact of his accompanying them. At the little inn on the hilltop where they stopped to lodge, nobody asked any compromising questions, and Bertram felt so sure he could soon complete his arrangements for taking Frida and the children "home," as he still always phrased it, that Frida had no doubts for their future happiness. As for Robert Monteith, that bleak, cold man, she hardly even remembered him. Bertram's first kiss seemed almost to have driven the very memory of her husband clean out of her consciousness. She only regretted, now she had left him, the false and mistaken sense of duty which had kept her so long tied to an inferior soul she could never love, and did wrong to marry. And all the time, what strange new lessons, what beautiful truths she learned from Bertram. As they strolled together those sweet August mornings, hand locked in hand, over the breezy upland, what new insight he gave her into men and things! What fresh impulse he supplied to her keen moral nature! The misery and wrong of the world she lived in came home to her now in deeper and blacker hues than ever she had conceived it in. And with that consciousness came also the burning desire of every wakened soul to right and redress it. With Bertram by her side, she felt she could not even harbour an unholy wish or admit a wrong feeling. That vague sense of his superiority as of a higher being, which she had felt from the very first moment she met him at Brackenhurst, had deepened and grown more definite now by closer intercourse. And she recognised that what she had fallen in love with from the earliest beginning was the beauty of holiness shining clear in his countenance. She had chosen at last the better part, and she felt in her soul that, come what might, it could not be taken away from her. In this earthly paradise of pure love undefiled, she spent 3 full days and part of another. On the morning of the 4th, She sent the country girl they had engaged to take care of the children out on the moor with the little ones, while she herself and Bertram went off alone, past the barrow that overlooks the Devil's Saucepan, and out on the open ridge that stretches with dark growth of heath and bracken far away into the misty blue distance of Hampshire. Bertram had just been speaking to her, as they sat on the dry sand, of the buried chieftain whose bones still lay hid under that grass-grown barrow, and of the slaughtered wives whose bodies slept beside him, massacred in cold blood to accompany their dead lord to the world of shadows. He had been contrasting these hideous slaveries of taboo-ridden England, past or present, with the rational freedom of his own dear country, whither he hoped so soon with good luck to take her, when suddenly Frida raised her eager eyes from the ground and saw somebody or something coming across the moor from eastward in their direction. All at once a vague foreboding of evil possessed her. Hardly quite knowing why, she felt this approaching object augured no good to their happiness. "Look, Bertram!" she cried, seizing his arm in her fright. "There's somebody coming!" Bertram raised his eyes and looked. Then he shaded them with his hands. "How strange!" he said simply, in his candid way. "It looks for all the world just like the man who was once your husband." Frida rose in alarm. "Oh, what can we do?" she cried, wringing her hands. "Whatever can we do? It's he! It's Robert!" "Surely he can't have come on purpose?" Bertram exclaimed, taken aback. "When he sees us he'll turn aside. He must know, of all people on earth, he's the one least likely at such a time to be welcome. He can't want to disturb the peace of another man's honeymoon." But Frida, better used to the savage ways of the world she had always lived in, made answer, shrinking and crouching. "He's hunted us down, and he's come to fight you." "To fight me?" Bertram exclaimed. "Oh, surely not that. I was told by those who ought best to know, you English had got far beyond the stage of private war and murderous vendetta." "For everything else," Frida answered, cowering down in her terror of her husband's vengeance. Not for herself, indeed, so much as for Bertram. "For everything else we have, but not for a woman." There was no time just then, however, for further explanation of this strange anomaly. Monteith had singled them out from a great distance, with his keen, clear sight, inherited from generations of Highland ancestors, and now strode angrily across the moor, with great wrathful steps, in his rival's direction. Frida nestled close to Bertram, to protect her from the man to whom her country's laws and the customs of her tribe would have handed her over blindfold. Bertram soothed her with his hand, and awaited in silence, with some dim sense of awe, the angry barbarian's arrival. He came up very quickly, and stood full in front of them, glaring with fierce eyes at the discovered lovers. For a minute or two his rage would not allow him to speak, nor even to act. He could but stand and scowl from under his brows at Bertram. But after a long pause his wrath found words.
"You infernal scoundrel!" he burst forth. "So at last I've caught you! How dare you sit there and look me straight in the face? You infernal thief, how dare you? How dare you?"
Bertram rose and confronted him. His own face, too, flushed slightly with righteous indignation, but he answered for all that in the same calm and measured tones as ever. "I am not a scoundrel, and I will not submit to be called so even by an angry savage. I ask you in return, how dare you follow us? You must have known your presence would be very unwelcome. I should have thought this was just the one moment in your life, and the one place on earth, where even you would have seen that to stop away was your imperative duty. Mere self-respect would dictate such conduct. This lady has given you clear proof indeed that your society and converse are highly distasteful to her." Robert Monteith glared across at him with the face of a tiger.
"You infamous creature!"
he cried, almost speechless with rage.
"Do you dare to defend my wife's adultery?"
Bertram gazed at him with a strange look of mingled horror and astonishment. "You poor wretch," he answered, as calmly as before, but with evident contempt. "How can you dare such a thing as you to apply these vile words to your moral superiors? Adultery it was indeed, and untruth to her own higher and purer nature, for this lady to spend one night of her life under your roof with you. What she has taken now in exchange is holy marriage, the only real and sacred marriage, the marriage of true souls, to which even the wiser of yourselves, the poets of your nation, would not admit impediment. If you dare to apply such base language as this to my lady's actions, you must answer for it to me, her natural protector, for I will not permit it." At the words, quick as lightning, Monteith pulled from his pocket a loaded revolver and pointed it full at his rival. With a cry of terror, Frida flung herself between them, and tried to protect her lover with the shield of her own body. But Bertram gently unwound her arms, and held her off from him tenderly. "No, no, darling," he said slowly, sitting down with wonderful calm upon a big grey sarsen stone that abutted upon the pathway. "I had forgotten again. I keep always forgetting what kind of savages I have to deal with. If I chose, I could snatch that murderous weapon from his hand and shoot him dead with it in self-defence, for I'm stronger than he is. But if I did, what use? I could never take you home with me. And, after all, what could we either of us do in the end in this bad, wild world of your fellow countrymen? They would take me and hang me, and all would be up with you. For your sake, Frida, to shield you from the effects of their cruel taboos, there's but one course open. I must submit to this madman. He may shoot me if he will. Stand free and let him." But with a passionate oath, Robert Monteith seized her arm and flung her madly from him. She fell, reeling on one side. His eyes were bloodshot with the savage thirst for vengeance. He raised the deadly weapon. Bertram Ingledew, still seated on the big round boulder, opened his breast in silence to receive the bullet. There was a moment's pause. For that moment, even Monteith himself, in his maniac mood, felt dimly aware of that mysterious restraining power all the rest who knew him had so often felt in their dealings with the alien. But it was only for a moment. His coarser nature was ill adapted to recognise that ineffable air as of a superior being that others observed in him. He pulled the trigger and fired. Frida gave one loud shriek of despairing horror. Bertram's body fell back on the bare heath behind it. End of chapter 11.